You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
My word.
My word.
Well, that gum. I'm so sweaty.
Why are you so sweaty?
'Cause it's hot.
We're not doing anything.
It's still hot.
We're just sitting here.
It's still hot. Can't have the fan on because it's going to create all kinds of noise. And no one wants that.
Well, we'll just deal with it.
I suppose.
This is certainly the most interesting setup that we've had for a podcast.
Definitely. Well, that gum. Here we are.
Where are we?
We are in Honduras.
Zambrano, Honduras. We've been to Tegucigalpa today.
True story.
And back to Zambrano.
Jace.
Want to be the best.
There's been lots of Nacho Libre quotes this week.
Yep. Sure enough.
Well, we weren't even going to do an episode this week. We were going to just take the week off, but
right.
I did bring the microphone just in case, so...
Seems like a waste to not record if you took the effort to bring the mic.
Yeah. Plus, we got a little bit of time today, so...
As far as we know.
As far as we know. We could be interrupted at any moment, and that'll be the end of it.
Right.
Probably.
I almost actually expect to be interrupted, since this morning Mr. Ed did say that he needed my help this afternoon, but...
Yeah. It's probably coming. But until then...
We are going to give the people quality content that they deserve and desire until that point. What does that content consist of? I don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We didn't plan anything, obviously. We didn't even know we were going to do this, so... I don't know. I figured it would just be cool to record something from Honduras. So here we are, sitting in our bedroom in Honduras. We just took our pants off.
Yep. Naked podcasting.
We have pants on now, but we did take them off to put shorts on. Let me clarify that. We took our pants off to put shorts on.
Yeah. Because, again, it's hot.
Yeah, these houses here don't have air conditioning. Which, actually, I expected that to be a bigger problem here than it has been. When I heard that there was not going to be air conditioning and that it was requested for us to wear breeches and not shorts, I thought the amount of perspiration that is going to accumulate in the nether regions of my pants is going to be a disaster. And it hasn't been that big a problem.
I mean, I've just never not sweated almost the whole time we've been here. It's just been...
I haven't sweated that much. I haven't sweated that much. You're probably doing more work than me.
I'm just fatter. Probably.
The day that we did the concrete, I sweated a lot. The first day I really, really sweated a lot.
Yeah.
And then the second day I sweated a lot still, but not quite as much as the first day. And then I sweated yesterday packing beans.
Packing the beans. Oh,
and the arroz. And frijoles.
I got sweaty doing that, Oswald. But you were, picking up the bags.
100-pound sacks of beans.
Yep. We've both been putting work in.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the biggest takeaways I've had from this trip so far. I was talking to Alicia about that this afternoon. I wrote that down in my journal for yesterday. Was how fulfilling it feels to do this kind of work. Contrast to... I try to use my words carefully here because I know that I'm grateful to have a good paying job, that I'm able to pay my bills, and I know that I'm blessed in that regard. So I'm not trying to talk necessarily negative about it, but at the same time, there's no fulfillment in the work I do on a day-to-day basis. It's simply a paycheck. I don't feel like I'm doing anything to benefit anybody.
Right.
I am simply just collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then now that I'm here doing this work, it feels like even though I feel super exhausted every night, like when I lay down to go to sleep, I feel like fulfilled. Like I feel
Right.
like the day has been used in a constructive way, and that there's a fulfillment that I feel out of just helping people. And every day this week that I've went to bed, I've felt that contentment that I feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be something that's going to be really hard for me to just go back after this trip is over and sort of integrate back to normal life. Is just that feeling of going to bed every night feeling good and content. Fulfilled, I guess is the word I keep using. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had that same thought yesterday, I think. Like, I just don't care about my job, really.
Right.
Like, the company I work for, they're doing fine. They're making all kinds of money.
Right.
Like, they don't, I'm just a guy that works there. So and I'm not, I don't really think that I don't ever feel like I'm helping anybody out in what I'm doing.
Right.
Like you said, I'm literally just there to bring some money home.
I have no passion or desire to do what I do. I'm simply just there by chance and because it pays well.
Yeah.
And that's interesting about this is that for me, it hasn't mattered whether we're pouring concrete or playing with kids or if I'm moving sacks of beans and rice. Like, it's not about the work. It's it's what the work is working towards as the whole that makes it feel fulfilling. Like it's, for me at least, I don't know that everybody would have that same experience, but for me, I feel fulfilled in helping other people. And so just doing that work, even though it's hard work at times, like those days we were working in concrete, man, I'm not used to that kind of work. I work at a bank. Like, I work office job. So, that was hard work. And we were doing it old school style, Obviously, this is, we were hand mixing concrete with shovels and pouring it, So it's hard work. But you go to bed at night feeling like you helped somebody,
Yeah.
It's just that feeling of helping somebody that's missing, I guess. So.
Yeah. It's something that's, like, tangible. Like, even if we had jobs where, like, we're a small part of a process that ultimately ended up helping someone, like, even that would be, like, it's still different than what we're doing here, because, like, the lady's house, Lorena, that we went and, like, poured the concrete for, like, she's right there. Right. This is her house.
Right.
We're in her house. Like, it's something tangible you can look at and say, this is who I helped.
Right.
And this is how I helped them.
Yeah. And it's also just a different degree because of the amount of, like, the poverty that we've seen here is a little bit different than what we're used to. Obviously there's homelessness and there's plenty of poverty at home in the United States. But, it's a little more widespread here. The reason that we were pouring a concrete floor for the lady is because she obviously had a dirt floor before. That's why we were pouring concrete.
Yeah.
She had an outhouse. Yeah. She didn't have a bathroom in her house.
Right.
She lived there with 2 children with 1 bed with a dirt floor in her kitchen. Like,
yeah.
We had to fix her drainage because when it rains, the rainwater flows into her kitchen and bedroom. Like, That's a level of... While I know that level of poverty does exist in places of the United States, it's not something that we see on a day-to-day basis. And so... It's even different in that regard, It's like you're not just helping somebody, but you are helping somebody,
Yeah, really helping.
So yeah, it's been so far it's been a good week though. It's Friday now, somehow that feels crazy.
Yeah,
but we got one more day to go.
Yeah, the trip has been an interesting one. For me, I've had moments where I was, like, super happy that I was here and, like, would not want to be anywhere else. And then I've had moments, sometimes even in, like, the same day, where I'm like, man, I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah.
And part of me feels bad for that, but I think that's probably somewhat normal. You know?
Yeah, I would say probably. I mean, I guess for me, the only thing that I mean, obviously, I miss my wife and my son quite a bit, and I have from the very first day. So that part of me misses it, is misses home. The other part of me just is indifferent towards towards that. If they were here with me, I would be totally fine. Like I wouldn't even.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that this trip has been. I don't know. It's brought about some things for me that are like in me or out of me that I think I might need to wrestle with some stuff maybe when I get home.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about that, I guess. Or like what I actually don't even know what I mean by that myself.
I was curious to hear you expand on that because we've been literally sleeping in the same room and you have not mentioned this to me yet. So,
well, like just like things that have to do with like my personality, like and like just my the way that I interact with people, the way that I like my thinking in social spaces, whatever you want to say. Like I guess there was like certain things that like I thought that I had like grown in or like matured in and kind of moved beyond in certain ways that kind of were exposed, I think, during this trip. Like on a personal level.
mm-hmm.
As far as like, I don't know. I'm just like my personality. I'm just sort of socially awkward, and like, I don't know. I'm pretty quiet and shy, but like, I kind of feel like had gotten better about that. But it feels like I'm clamming up a lot this week, more so than I thought I would. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I guess what I mean by like wrestling with that is like just trying to figure out like why am I like that and like what can I do to not, and do I even need to do anything,
Right.
or should I just like accept that that's who I am and just I don't know.
I don't know that's. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe wrestling is a good word for that then, because I don't know. When hearing you describe it, that's my initial reaction was I don't know that that's a bad thing, or something that needs. It's not like a problem. I guess I would say that's just who you are. There are some people like that, and there are some people that are wide open and open. You know what I mean, and are completely opposite of that, and the world turns just fine with both people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess it would depend on what your goals are for your future and what you want. I mean, obviously, like if you're trying to do some of the things that we're doing this week, like interacting with the children at the Casa de Luz facilities, for your personality, that might not be something that goes along, that works for you very well. You know what I mean? But that's fine. There's other people that can do that job. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to fit into every box.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely don't fit in every box. That was actually one of the, I guess, more surprising things for me, is because I'm pretty good with kids, and especially since I have Finn and he's 3.5 years old, and that's the age of some of these kids, I sort of expected to be able to integrate with the kids a little more and interact with them a little better than I was able to, which part of it is the language barrier and the culture differences, and I'm 6 foot tall, 280 pounds with a big beard. Like, I'm not the friendliest looking person, just if you don't know me. So I'm sure to a little kid that comes across as not, especially when they're not used to seeing people like that. Like, I've not seen a lot of people my size and with big beards here in Honduras. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I'm sure it's intimidating for little kids, but I don't have a problem with kids, and that's you're interacting with children on a usual basis. So I felt that to be a little bit challenging for me this week, which was interesting. And that's not to say, I mean, I did try and I played with them, but not as easily as I thought I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I knew coming into this that some of the physical work that we had to do, like the pouring of the concrete and, the packing the rice and beans and all that, like I would be fine with that because that kind of work I'm good with, like just using my body and muscles and sweat and, like that I was fine with. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've also found it a little bit interesting, like when we did the interaction yesterday with the volunteers at the place, and there was the, baptisms or immersions or, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Just interacting with the people there was a little bit awkward for me simply because it was mostly women. And the culture here is a little bit different than it is at home, and I didn't know how it would be received with me, like, interacting with the women in that way. So I felt a little bit awkward in those situations. So that was a little bit different. I'm curious to see how tomorrow goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure overall the thing's going to be a success. I know that, but I mean, I'm curious to see how it goes for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, they may be baptizing folks for like 7 hours. Like, who knows?
Yeah, to give a little context, we were scheduled. There was a 45-minute block of time that was scheduled for the baptisms yesterday, and we ended up being out there for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that was just for like the those that are helping at the
the volunteers and the workers.
Yeah, at Costa de Luz, like, so. I mean, and we ended like you said, we were there for almost 3 hours. So tomorrow that event is open to the whole community. So like, who knows how long we're gonna be there doing that. So. It'll be interesting. But that's another one of those things that, like, I don't know. I'm not sure how much to even say.
This is our show. We can say anything we want.
Well, like, there's just been stuff that's come up this week that I haven't really wrestled with and I'm not sure about. Like, we did our episode on, like, the devil, and we talked a little bit about spirits and demons and stuff like that. And, like, I guess to me, it's not that big a deal. It doesn't really matter. But it is something that I haven't really wrestled with too much. Because we saw in the immersion services yesterday what appeared to be demonic possession and that being cast out. Or, some sort of like spiritual oppression. And that being, being removed, cast out. And I don't know. That's just something that I have been thinking about since then a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just, like on a spiritual level and theological level, like what do I think about that? That's something that I'm just not really sure about. So that's something else I'm gonna have to wrestle with, I think. Think about some.
You better get your wrestling boots on.
You unitard?
Yeah, your singlet.
Singlet.
Those are called singlets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something that maybe I expected to wrestle with a little bit more thing. Like, I thought being here would cause me to have to wrestle with more things than it actually has brought up for me. For me, this trip really has been simply just about the work I'm putting in to help others, and I haven't really thought too much about it from a theological perspective, Really, even the immersions and the, like what you said, the spirits and all that stuff, I didn't really think too much about. I haven't thought too much about it. other than the little bit that me and you discussed it last night. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's something that we may have actually talked about this at some point this week also, is like, I have noticed it being really hard for me to, like, just not think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To just, like what you're saying, you're like, well, it didn't really bother me any. I don't know, I find that I've noticed myself having a hard time,
Right.
like, just letting it be and not thinking,
Right.
like, not struggling with that stuff as much.
Right. I understand what you mean, because that usually is a problem for me, but I've consciously tried to work on that, and so that's probably why it hasn't been a big problem for me. Like, I just know that the goal that I have personally and the goal that the team has, and, like, some of those different places where, because I know for a fact that there are people on this team that disagree with me on certain theological points, and I disagree with them, but we're all working towards the same goal, and, like, regardless of what the topic is, whether it's demons or the devil or hell or heaven or whatever, like, none of that really factors into what, at least from my vision, what I'm trying to accomplish here. And so, just like with what you were talking about with the spirits and the immersions and the stuff that we were seeing yesterday, the whole time I was simply thinking and praying that these people get whatever it is that they need. I don't know what they need. I don't know them, but as long as they get whatever they need to out of it, then I don't have to understand it, and I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I know that you agree with that. Like,
I agree. I want to see people made whole.
Right.
I want to see people healed, delivered, restored. That's what I want to see. However that happens,
Right.
Whatever that means, whether that means there's some sort of, I don't know. I don't even know.
Right.
I've already said it. I've already said the things, but I don't know. And it's not that I don't believe in that. I just don't know. Like, I do believe that there's something, but I just don't know how to conceptualize it. And to me, that has been a big deal, because it's like that determines how you pray, I think. It will alter the way that you try to pray for those individuals, and how this, like, how does that thing come out of them? Like, I think that maybe that does change depending on how you conceptualize what it is, what the spirit realm is,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it didn't affect me, but I was just simply praying the whole time that they get whatever it is they need.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you make it that broad.
Really, what I was specifically praying for each single person was that they would either realize that they are a loved child of God, or that they would always remember that they're a loved child of God, and that there's nothing that they could ever possibly do or ever have done to change that fact. Because I believe that that's the root of where wholeness comes from.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there was other people praying other things, but I felt like that was my role in the process.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, from that perspective, it doesn't matter what it is that's oppressing them. That doesn't change that prayer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like there's certain things in my theology, thinking on God and all of that I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That can just be a mystery, and I'm cool with it. And then certain things I haven't been able to not think about them.
Right.
And some things I just haven't really took the time to actually think through them a lot or study it a lot,
I mean, there are, to be fair, that there are things like that, like on that specific topic, that I believe a certain way about them, and if I'm wrong about that, then that changes a lot of things for me. It's just that I haven't found a reason to necessarily even worry about it yet. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well,
that's kind of what I know when we were talking about it last night. I tried to say that in a way because on one hand in the as it affected things yesterday, it wasn't important to me, but I guess it is an important topic in so much that if it is a certain way and not the other way, then I don't know what I believe about anything anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so it is important, but just in regards to how it affected things yesterday, it wasn't important to me.
yeah. Well, going back to the one thing you said a minute ago about like wholeness coming from that realization, I think that we witnessed that yesterday too, because the Brother Steve's presentation, like he did a short part on the gospel, but then he moved to the who are you,
Yeah.
who your identity, you know, and like you were talking about being a child of God, a beloved child of God, like that is something that he talked about, and like, you know, he had this whole list of things and bookmarks that he handed out that had it on there, like all these scripture references that say like who we are.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that was setting a good base for us to then go into the waters,
Right.
you know, to experience that wholeness that you were talking about. 'Cause that has been a big thing for me also, is like your identity, who you are, who God is, what your relationship to Him is. Like I've said before, like the whole father and child analogy is huge for me.
Right.
And especially it was in the in the beginning of my reconstruction. It was like the only way that I could make sense of anything.
Right. I would say that some people probably would say I take that even to the extreme, too far, probably, because they would, you know, I take it so literally that I'm just like, I mean, I always come back to like my relationship with God is like, what would a father do? Would a father allow their child to do that, or, you know, go through that, or what, you know, like, and then so, I mean, that's been a huge factor for me for sure,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I think that one reason why the spirit thing, just because of, you know, our process and the deconstruction where we've been and certain things that are a little triggering, like, because that's something that I haven't really come to any sort of like, I don't even want to use the word concrete, but more like firm-ish idea on, like, I ended up just reverting back to my old pre-deconstruction ways of like of praying and reacting in that sort of situation, and I don't know. I just felt like it was. I don't know. I was just a little troubled by that for whatever reason. Not that there's. I mean, and I don't say that to say that like just everything that I did or believed before is wrong.
Right.
Because, like, for the most part, I think that I believe a lot of the same, mostly the same things that I did before. I just feel like I understand them either better or in a different light.
Right.
You know? So it's not that I just think that, but anyway, it did kind of trigger some, like, old memories and stuff like that.
Right.
So
I think that's where my mind goes to when we talk about things like demons and spirits and things, is that we don't really even know how to. I say it all the time. What even is spirit? Like, it's so hard for us to even define or conceptualize what that means. That it's just hard to even like say, to use your language, to have a firm stance on it. But you know what I mean? Because what does that even mean? You know, like. Yeah. I mean, some people would have the idea of like a horror movie, like demon or devil or whatever, but that's not necessarily what you have to mean when you use that word. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not something that can be seen or concretely defined, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are oppressed. I think it's fairly obvious. So what
Right.
that looks like, how that happens, like all that can be debated, but there's almost no denying to me that people are oppressed.
Yeah.
I mean, their addiction exists. Like
Yeah.
what is that causes that? Is it simply chemical in your brain? Is it something spiritual? Is it? I don't know. But I want it gone.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And thank God that he doesn't need me to understand it to
Right.
free people and make people whole. Because I do believe, like, I have faith that everyone that got in that water yesterday was or will be delivered, made whole.
I
You
kind
know,
of think about that a lot, about just different conceptions, and it gets to be almost tricky to even try to define or say it. But I just feel like there's a different flavor for everybody, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong flavor. I guess what I mean by that is I think that there are some people that are Baptist, and some people that are Methodist, and some people that are Catholic, and some people that are non-denominational, and there are some people who feel like they need to be immersed in water to be healed, and there are some people who just say a prayer and believe that God will heal them, and I don't think that, and there are some people that feel like they need to have someone lay their hands on them and pray for them to be healed, and I don't think that there is a right or wrong way necessarily. It's like almost in a way like many different colors make up a rainbow, or many different, like the language of the Bible, there's many different body parts that make up the body, and
yeah,
each individual part on its own can't function as a working body, but together it's a working body that's capable of amazing things. And so I don't think that's what I kept thinking about really with some of this stuff, because my initial mind, it always does go to the rational thinking, and like, well, what's the purpose of this, and is this real or is this not real? But where my mind kept going yesterday with it was, I don't care. I just want people to be made whole, and I just think that I don't know that there is a right or wrong way. I mean, if you look at the way Jesus healed people in the Bible, one lady needed to touch the hem of his garment. The other person, he spit and rubbed dirt in his eyes. The other person, he just said, stand up and take your mat. I mean, there's so many different ways he did it. I
yeah,
don't know that there is a right or wrong. It's just, I mean, if you think you need to be immersed in water, then I want you to get immersed in water. If you if you
yeah,
don't think that's what you need, then I don't want you to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
from that perspective, like maybe there's some people who believe in demons, like in devils, that in spirits that are like horror movie demons and devils and spirits, and more power to you. Like, if that's what you think's out there and you're out there fighting them, then keep fighting a good fight, man. Like, you know.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think of some more struggles or some more like questions or things that have come up for me this week, but I don't guess I really have had any. Uh, I don't know. Should we talk a little bit about missions as far as, one of the purposes of mission trips is to spread the gospel.
Right.
And so some people may even wonder, like, well, why would you even want to go if being that we're both like Christian Universalists? I don't know that anyone is thinking that, but it's it's something that is, like, when you talk about that topic specifically, Christian
Right.
Universalism, that is something that comes up. Well, like, well, what's the point in going out and spreading the gospel then? So like, maybe we could talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have addressed this in the past, but I think in regards to missions specifically, it's a fine question to like dive into. But obviously, the reason why I consider myself a Christian is because I think that the way of Christ sets us whole, and that Christ Himself makes us whole.
Yeah.
So from that regard, I mean, For me, this coming on this mission trip was less about quote unquote preaching to people, and it was more about just being the hands and feet of Christ. Like it was about trying to help bring people's wholeness about. Like I think it's somewhere in the Gospels where it's like, what good does it do to tell the man the gospel if he leaves hungry? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like part of that making someone whole. If they don't have a place to lay their head at night, if they go to bed without a dinner, like they go to bed hungry, what good are the words that you're preaching to them? And so for me, it's less about maybe what some would consider spreading the gospel, which it would be preaching and teaching, and more about just being the hands and feet of Christ and trying to help people, trying to alleviate suffering where I can. And to me, that's just I would hope that regardless of your religion or lack thereof religion, that you would still hope to help alleviate suffering for your fellow humans as anybody that feels empathy and compassion, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have much more to add to that, really. I do think that, where is it? It's either First Peter or Second Peter, where it talks about God desires all to be saved,
Yeah.
and to come to the knowledge of the truth.
Right.
So I know for myself that, like, coming to the knowledge of the truth, it changed me. And, living in light of the truth of who you are, and who God is, and, your relationship with God, as far as, like, you are a child of God. You are beloved. There's nothing you can do that would ever change that. You are loved.
Right.
Like, that is worth telling people about.
Yeah.
That coming to the knowledge of that truth is worth telling people about, so that people can live in the truth of that, and live that out, and have that, go take root in them and bear fruit.
Right. I mean, it's hard, especially considering that a lot of what we're working with here on this trip, and specifically, is children. And, like, these are children who live in extreme poverty and who are going through a lot of hard stuff in their house. And they don't always feel or see that they are loved and cared for. Now, I'm sure that they do from time to time. But when you're faced with you don't know where your next meal's coming from, and extreme hardships like that, it's hard sometimes to feel that God loves you and cares about you. And so for me, it's just like, I hope that they see that we came all this way because we do care about them.
Right.
That even when you feel like nobody does care about you, like, we flew all the way over here to show you that you do matter.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of my favorite quotes, it's credited to St. Francis of Assisi. I mean, of course, it's disputed whether he actually said it or not, but it's, preach the gospel always, and when necessary, use words.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, what it's more about. Like, it's not like, I don't need to preach to people with words if you're living it. Like, I'm trying to give some lady who doesn't have a floor. I'm trying to feed the hungry, and not because I feel like I have to do, like, that's something that I want to emphasize, because it's been misunderstood in the past, is I'm not saying that I feel like I want to do these things because I have to earn my way or whatever. It's because I desire to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saved by works. I'm saved by grace, and that's it. I'm not doing works because I'm trying to earn something. I'm trying to do good works because I want to bless other people. Like, I want people to feel loved like I feel loved.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about Jesus and the price that was paid, the life that he lived, and the death that he died to show us how much we're loved.
Right.
Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing, you know,
Right.
is living that out and having that lived in and out of us,
Right.
you know.
And all I'm putting up with is a little bit of diarrhea and some exhaustion.
Some arthritis in your hands.
Arthritis in my hands.
Oh, yeah. It's been good.
It's definitely... I think the best way I could say it is I wrote in the first day of my journal, because I've been writing every night before bed. I've been writing in my journal, not because like I don't anticipate myself ever forgetting the experience that I've had here as far as what we did, but I wanted to remember how it made me feel.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to I've wrote down every night so far. I've wrote some of like what we did, but also how doing that made me feel.
Yeah.
And the very first night. Not like the night we flew in and spent the night here, but like the first night of actual stuff.
Yeah.
I finished my entry in the journal by writing, I already know that the man that flew to Honduras isn't coming home. Because, there's no way to take away the experiences that I've had here.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew coming into this, I think I actually got... we had an immersion service right before we left.
Yeah.
At church, and I got in the water, and I actually told Brother Steve that, like, I anticipate coming back different. I don't know what that's going to look like or what that's going to mean necessarily, but I anticipate coming back different. And I think that's definitely the case for me as well. You know?
It's just hard to put it into words, really, because it encompasses so much, too. I mean, the obvious one's gratitude, right? Like,
yeah, for
you're
sure.
just grateful for for everything, man.
Yeah.
But along with that gratitude comes almost a guilt in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because you just see how much I have compared to these people who... I mean, there's no way, without seeing the pictures, we cannot just properly put into words the place where Lorena lives with her 2 children.
Yeah, even the pictures don't really justice.
I don't want to like... She's a fantastic lady, so I'm not trying to, like, say anything, because I think she's doing the best that she can with the crap situation that she was dealt.
Right.
But her house resembles a barn. At home, that's a barn. Like, I have been in barns that was made out of the same material, had the same dirt floor.
Yeah.
And that's where she's living with her 2 kids. And contrast that to where I'm living, with all the excess space and the excess junk. I mean, my son has an entire room in my house that is his toy room. It's just toys.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
So in one hand, I'm just so grateful that I've been blessed with that. But in a weird way, there's almost a guilt there now. Like, you know that poverty exists, but it's just like, it's different seeing it on TV. You're just having the head knowledge that it exists. But when you're walking in her house,
yeah,
you're eating the mangoes that she cut up for you.
Yeah.
Drinking her coffee that she made for you. Like, that's different. That puts it in a different...
Yeah. Well, that's what... and she was super generous.
Yeah.
You know, she was super grateful for it. And, like, you were talking about the coffee, like, she made coffee for us, and we had juice and this little, like, sandwich thing that she made for everybody. And that was, like, a really big deal for her. You know, it seemed like a little bit of... I hate to say it like that, but, like, for us, it almost seemed like a little bit of nothing. But for her, that was, like, a ginormous, like, super generous gift for us, you know. So.
And just think about how much you don't even take a second to think about the food that we eat, right? Because we have such an excess of food. I mean, I'm 280 pounds. I eat plenty of food. You know what I mean? And, like, just not even take it's one thing to we say your little prayer beforehand, but do you really, like, understand how grateful that you should be to have that food? Because I mean, we've been told a story here about one of the ladies that I believe it was a volunteer at the Casa de Luz, but she literally had no food to feed her kids, and she made some homemade bracelets, and somebody bought them, and it was $14, and she was able to go buy her kids and her food for that night. Like,
Yeah.
and I get bored, so I walk to the cupboard and eat something just because I'm bored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird contrast of grateful mixed with a little bit of like,
Yeah.
I guess it's almost like survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and
kind of like that.
it's
yeah.
not the same thing, but in the same kind of vein of survivor's guilt. Like why do I have it so easy and good
Yeah.
when there's people out here that are just suffering so bad?
Yeah, and then there's the whole like. Yeah, I don't know. There's not. I haven't. I don't know if I've found a good way to talk about that either, because like, in one sense, like, because like you could say that we're blessed,
Mm-hmm.
but even using that language, I don't like even using that language, because then it implies that God, for some reason, God is blessing me,
Right.
but not Lorena,
Right.
and so I don't even know how to the kind of language that I would want to use for that. But yeah, like we are, for lack of better language, yes, we're extremely blessed.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I guess even more than just using that word specifically, it's just gratitude, man. Just grateful
Yeah.
for everything that I have. Like I for sure have a greater appreciation for the life that I live. And yeah, just I don't know. I don't know that those are things that you can ever change about yourself now that you've seen it and lived it, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely made something within me that wants to, like, I've already been thinking all week long about, like, this can't be the last time that I come and do, like, even not necessarily here, but, like, I for sure see myself making this a thing that I do more regularly, is doing trips like this, wherever that may be, because I want to help do whatever I can, you know. Not that
Yeah.
I can do much. I'm not anybody or anything. But I do have resources that some people don't have access to. I mean,
Yeah.
there are things that I can do. Again, not because I feel obligated to do so, but because I want to.
Yeah.
Something within me wants to do something, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. I think that the work that they're doing here is so huge with the children. I mean, that was definitely the one thing that kind of broke my heart this week, for sure. I mean, I talked about that the first night, was because our first day here we spent with the kids at the Casa de Luz program, and, you know, there was one kid in particular that I had been told about who is really struggling at home, and because of their home life and the stress that this has put on this child who's 6, 7, 8 years old, like, they're already having like, they had to go to the medical clinic because they were having panic attacks and anxiety attacks because of their home situation, and you know, they pointed them out to me, and so I knew which one it was. And then when we went out at recess time and played soccer, and just to see the joy on that kid, like, it was that 30 minutes of just being a kid. Like, all those troubles did not exist in that 30 minutes, and just being able to be a part of that was very special. That for sure is something that I will never forget.
Yeah.
Like, I bawled like a baby about it, and even just talking about it now, I can feel myself about to cry again. Like, just,
Yeah.
I mean, it really is almost like a holy moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because kids shouldn't have to they really shouldn't have to deal with that at all, but just being able to be a part of those moments, to when all that trouble doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
to where they can put away their stress and their anxiety and just be a kid and just be joyful and do something that they enjoy doing. That's special, man. I know that I will never forget that. So,
Yeah. Well, now we're both crying. Thanks a lot, you jerk. Yeah, man. It's been super good.
you know that they always want us to talk about this stuff at church when we get back, and there is literally no way that I can. I mean, I can't even talk to you about it without crying. So there is no way
Yeah.
I'm gonna be bawling like a baby.
Yeah. And that'll be really interesting, I think, for the people in the church, because it's probably a good portion of them have never seen you cry.
I told Ed yesterday that because we were talking about like the culture here and like the manly culture, and I told him, I said, to be honest, you guys, you have seen me cry just as much as some of the people that I'm on this trip here with from my own home church. Like I just don't I don't cry generally, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's not the case for me. I'm a crier. For sure.
There's been a lot of little moments like that though. That's an interesting thing about their culture that, like yesterday, one of the things that made me really tear up was there was a little child who got in the water to take part in the baptisms or the immersion service, and when Brother Steve asked her what brought her to the waters, what she said was that she was there because she wanted a blessing for her family.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, she could not have been more than 6 years old.
Right.
Like, to be at 6 years old and already, like, not thinking about yourself, but, like, I want a blessing for my family. Like, that's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like, at 6 years old, the only thing that was on my mind was Pizza Hut or Power Rangers. You know what I'm saying? Like...
Yeah, it seems like that now. It's hard to know this far removed. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely know what you're saying.
I mean, there's definitely things that we can take from them that... with lessons that we can learn from the culture here.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, one of the things that stands out to me is the pace of life seems slower. Like at home, it's run. It's almost like there are times in my life when I feel like I can't even breathe because it's just run. And like I know that coming up, like when we get back from this trip, life's going to be like that. We've got to work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and then I've got football practice every night, and then we got our church that we take part in, and just all these different things to where it's like every single night it's going to be run to where you don't even have time to breathe. And around here, there's just a lot of people, like you see a lot of people that are just chilling.
Yeah.
With their family or friends or just hanging out, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think here, that's one of the things, like their life, their work is a part of life and they do work, but their life doesn't revolve around work. Whereas at home, life seems to revolve around work. Work is the central point of everybody's life. And it makes the pace so fast. Because it takes up all day, every day. To where, like, Monday through Friday, you're working all day. The one day that you have to do the things that you want to do, that you need to do, not want to do, but need to do, is Saturday. But you don't want to do those things because that's the one day that you have off.
Yeah.
It's just... Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that to take away from the trip, from the culture here.
They also have banana soda, and we don't have that, and it's delicious.
Yes, that is true. It's pretty good. It's like a liquid banana Laffy Taffy, basically.
I think it's probably forever etched in my memory as better than it actually is, because that's what I had to drink after the first day of concrete, and I was dog tired, and I was super dehydrated, and as soon as that liquid gold hit my lips, since it gave me Holy Ghost goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's been good. I mean, there's things that I could share, like stories, kind of like what the ones that you were telling, but I don't know. Well, I mean, not everybody that listens to this is going to be at the church to hear the testimony, so I don't
Right.
guess it matters. Uh,
This probably won't come out until after that anyway.
yeah. Well, like there was, I I didn't expect this, but like the first day that I was like, I am so glad that I'm here, and don't want to. I wouldn't. Well, I'm trying to think how to word it. Like the first day, the first time that I was like, I'm super glad I'm here. I feel like I'm supposed to be here, and I'm just super grateful that I actually went through with it and came.
Yeah.
Was like the day that was the one of the the hardest day that we've had here, like physically.
Yeah.
It was the first concrete day, you know, and that was like, which I don't know. I actually think the second day was probably just as hard physically for me. But anyway, like you would like just because of my like personality, like I would have thought that like if I had some sort of like breakthrough moment, like getting to talk to somebody, like that would have been the thing that I was like, oh yeah, that's like I'm glad I'm here. But like the fact that it was just working, man,
Yeah.
you know, and seeing the results of it, like we talked about earlier, like it's something you can actually look and see. I did this, and that's who I did it for,
Yeah.
and she's super grateful for it.
Right.
Like that was the thing that got like the first time this week that I was like super grateful to be here because I feel like I was kind of disappointed in the first day we were here, first full day we were here,
Yeah.
because I didn't like do anything. Like we went and we were hanging out with the kids, and I mean I was there, but like I didn't try to engage with the kids at all. So I was kind of like in my head about that and mad at myself, you know. So I didn't feel great
Yeah.
about the trip that day. But I did feel better about it the second day whenever we did the concrete
Yeah.
work, you know. Or I guess that was the third day technically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
day we didn't do anything. We just went shopping. Like that was like, and it
Went
was
to
it was
church.
Sunday. We went shopping and went to church, and we didn't do any work that day.
yeah.
But I've had a lot of little moments too. Like today, I even had one, which doesn't. It's not going to sound like anything huge, but it's just like a little thing that lets you know, like, I don't know, but because I've been practicing on my Spanish since I've been here, and like, because I actually know way more Spanish than I thought I did, and can almost like. There's been times when I've been able to like communicate with people in Spanish, and there was even one point I don't even remember who it was, but or who we were talking to, but there was somebody speaking in Spanish and somebody on our team, and they were trying to talk to each other, but they couldn't talk to each other. But I could understand Spanish, and I was able to like translate for them, which was kind of cool because I don't know that much Spanish.
Yeah.
But but I've been working on say the phrase like my Spanish, and one of the phrases I've been working on because I thought would become useful is short and simple. God loves you and God bless you, which is super easy in Spanish too. It's Dios le ama y Dios le bendiga. But I'm super nervous. I don't know why. I'm super like insecure about speaking Spanish to people that speak Spanish. Like
Yeah.
I'm comfortable using it around you guys or around even like Ed and Val who speak fluent Spanish, but like it's their second language. Like I'm comfortable speaking Spanish to people like that, but people that only speak Spanish, I'm very self-conscious of speaking their language to them.
Yeah.
And so like today I wanted to say that to somebody because I've been practicing that, and it was on my heart to say that to the volunteers there when we were leaving. I wanted to say that to them, but I was too self-conscious about it to where I was just going to walk out the door without saying it. But when we were leaving, one of the ladies said to me in English, God bless you. So then I turned around and said it back to her in Spanish. But that was almost like a little moment of like, I'd been practicing on this, but I was too nervous to do it. So then she presented it to me of like, no, go ahead. This is okay. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was just a cool little moment for me. There's been a lot of little moments like that. That to somebody hearing this, it's going to be nothing. But it was special to me in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess one little moment like that for me was the Monday, I guess, whenever we went to the Casa de Luz, the day that I said I felt bad about myself. Because, like, I wanted... The whole reason that I came on this trip is because I want to see people be made whole.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see... Because I believe that it is God's will for every single person to come to the knowledge of the truth and to be healed and made whole and restored sozo, right? It encompasses all of that. So that is why I wanted to come here to participate in the work of the Holy Spirit and doing that and bringing that to bear in the world. That's why I wanted to come here. But my personality, like, it was like I couldn't get out of my own way to try to engage with the kids so that maybe I could make some sort of impact in their life.
Yeah.
So I sit there down on myself the whole time, never said anything to any of the kids. And then, like, right before we had, like, the little recess break, there was this little kid. His name was Christopher. I'll never forget that kid.
Yeah.
He had these...
He's actually cousins to the kid I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
From the soccer story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he had these little stickers and that had, like, eyes and mouths and stuff like that on it. And me and you and Keith were kind of sitting there together. And he went to Keith first, and then he put... Because, like, if in order, like, I would have been, like, probably the first one he saw.
I was the furthest away.
And then Keith, and then you were the furthest away. Well, he turned around, and he went to Keith first and put, like, made, like, a face on his hand with the stickers, the eyes, and the mouth. And then he did the same thing to you, so I was like, well, I guess he's just skipping over me. That's fine. But then he came back and put a face on mine, and it's like... That was one of those moments that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get out of my own way to engage with these kids, to make an impact on their life. To, like, include myself in their life. But then Christopher made it a point to include me.
Right.
In his. So that was a cool moment.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's cool.
Oh, well.
Well, it's not our normal content, but I think it's been a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I think we're just over an hour right now, so
that's about perfect.
We could wrap it up.
Yeah, that's fine. We've, like I said, we've got one day, so this is Friday afternoon. We went to play with the kids in Tegus today. That's another thing about Honduras, by the way. If you've never been here, the travel, my word.
Yeah.
If you think people can't drive in America or USA,
it's nuts.
It's nuts here.
Yeah.
There's no stoplights.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
It's a free-for-all. It really is a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I think Andrew put it best. He's a guy that's here locally. He lives here, but he's American. His name is Andrew. He drove us today, and he described it as offensive defensive driving. Or aggressive defensive driving.
Aggressive defensive, yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty good way of describing the driving in Honduras.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Morales, who provides security for us, was riding shotgun with Andrew, and he told him he was driving too much like a gringo. So.
Yeah, I would be in trouble.
Yeah. But yeah, we went and visited those kids today, which was a super cool experience. Just seeing. Well, it was cool seeing the inner city there in Tegus. I mean, it's completely different. Here in Zambrano, it's country, man. It's very McLean County-esque here. Dirt roads, farms. I mean, just getting back to the house today, there was horses in the road.
Yeah.
Like, horses just freely roam. Chickens freely roam.
Yeah.
Dogs everywhere. So it reminds me a lot of home here because it's very rural. It seems like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Like, just real small town, but Tegus is a big city. So that was interesting. And then tomorrow is our last day here, and we're going to go back up to Costa de Luz here in Zambrano for a special event. I'm not sure what they're calling it, but there's going to be more immersions. There's going to be fun and games with children. There's going to be prayer. We're providing food for each family that comes. That's what we were packing the other day when I was packing the beans and rice in. So, yeah, that's how we're going to finish our week out. And then Sunday we travel home. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, it ought to be. We may have to tag in on that immersion service if it goes for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm going to bring some shorts just in case.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. Well, maybe we can talk about this offline. It wouldn't be a bad idea for us to get with Steve about, like, what's the process?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that he has, like, questions that he asks.
That's what I meant.
Specifically, before he puts them. I mean, I know that we're supposed to ask if they have any unforgiveness towards anyone or themselves.
Right.
What brings you to the waters is a question he always asks.
Yeah.
I think really those might be the only things.
That probably is it.
But it wouldn't be a bad idea. Like, if that's a possibility, wouldn't be a bad idea to double check with him.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, all right. I guess let's wrap this thing up, and we will next time we record, we'll be back in the good old US of A.
Mm-hmm.
So the sound quality should be better. We just have our little. If you could see our setup here now, we have our one USB mic set up. It's posted up, just laying flat on Sean's suitcase. We're laying on our beds in our room with it between us.
Bed's kind of mushed together a little bit so that we can get close enough to the microphone.
Right. So, anyway, let's close with this. Dios le ama y Dios le bendiga.